Hi, I'm Chris from Peasant Garage, and today we're going to talk about buying a $2,500 car. Mark and I are going to look at getting a cheap car around the $1,500 price point, and we're going to put it on the road for about $2,500. So we're talking about a car that's not cool, that's going to be practical, something that you can put your kids in, something you go to work in, something that you can enjoy and not have a lot of problems with. So that's basically where we are. We're going to talk about building a car and using your sweat equity to get something on the road. Now, obviously, this isn't. We're not talking about primary cars. If this is your first opportunity to wrench on a car, probably a bad idea to start with a $1,500 car and then start wrenching on it and have it for buy it on Friday and expect to have it working for Monday. We're talking about a small project car. And we're talking about something that you would slowly build over time, learn how to wrench on, get your tools together, and start doing basic stuff. We want to buy at no more than $1,500. We want to put $1,000 maximum budget of parts into the car, and then we're going to put it on the road for $2,500. We're going to talk a little bit about the cars that I found. I have a number of them that they range. They range everything from Japanese cars, little Korean cars. If you want a car that works, it's simple, guys. You don't even need this video. Go out and get yourself a Toyota. You buy a Toyota, pretty much, and even the bad Toyotas are really good. So you're really not going to have you're not really going to have too many issues if you go out and get yourself a Japanese car. The big problem with buying a Japanese car is they cost like a Japanese car. So you'll be at the maximum end of your budget. You would be over your $1,500. You'd be well into your $2,500 to even buy an old used Toyota. So it's kind of outside the scope of what I'm talking about. Although you can find the odd Camry with high mileage. You can find the odd Corolla with high mileage. Still good cars if they're maintained, if they have a service history. That's one thing to look for. Ask people what they've done to it, right? What has been done to it? Did they have it done in the garage? Did they do it themselves, right? These are all things that make sense when you're buying a car within that sub $1,500 range. The other thing you want to do, if you don't know, take it to a mechanic. Spend $100 on your $1,500 investment. Take it to a mechanic, get the list. You can do a pre-purchase inspection. Most garages will do a pre-purchase inspection for $100. They'll also do a safety check for $100 here in Ontario, Canada. So you can take your car in and they'll go over and tell you if the brakes are bad and so on. You'll kind of know by driving it anyways. I mean, if you drive a car, you're going to know if your brakes are bad. You're going to hit the brakes and they don't work, right? You're going to know that there's a wobble in the steering. So go ahead, take it down to the garage, get them to give you an honest opinion of what's wrong with the car. Sometimes it's not always obvious. So once you have that piece of paperwork, then you have your list of things to repair. You bring a knowledgeable friend with you to buy that used car. You'll probably do quite well. Usually knowledgeable friends are a good place to start. Get yourself your list and see if you can fix it within that $1,000 budget. The cars I look for specifically in this environment are cars that are more rust-free than not rust-free. And you'll probably see in some of the videos we're going to produce what I mean by rust-free. It's not what everybody in the southern United States or even middle United States or even maybe northern United States would consider to be rust-free. We have rust problems in Ottawa, okay? Like we have probably some of the highest salt concentrations on the road in the winter. So some of the cars you're going to see me work on are challenging. It's a tough environment up here, so you're going to get to see me work real hard to produce some content for you guys. We're talking about mainly today is sweat equity. The other part of it is don't fall in love. You might go and get yourself a car that you really, really love. Like my prize car here, you love this, right? But if you go and buy yourself a car that you find a really cool old Celica or something, and there's only a little bit of rust in the rockers, and it doesn't quite drive right, but it's cool, right? Maybe it's a convertible one, right? Those are all things that should be secondary when you're talking about the $2,500 car. Especially if you're talking about a father-son car, something your son's actually going to drive. You're looking for something that's solid. You're looking for something that you can put brakes on. You're looking for something that's going to generally start and run so that it's not a waste of money and you're not out buying another car immediately. These videos are not intended for the people who want to go and buy who need to drive Monday. I think I've mentioned that previously. If you need to have it for next week, there are lots of buy here, pay here lots. There are lots of dealers selling cars. Go buy one. Go make a payment. Buy it well. Do your research if you're going to spend that kind of money. But at this kind of money, we're a little bit more in the gambling sort of area, right? We're going to go look at cars that are 1,500 or sub 1,500. You know, you might find a car for $700 and you might not need a lot of work. Sometimes it's the front end's falling off of it, and somebody's gotten a bill for $3,000 because the AC doesn't work, and they're just done with it. And there's nothing particularly wrong with the car other than those repairs. And that's where the sweat equity takes over. This is where you guys can really benefit from buying a car and putting your sweat equity into it, and having something that's worth money at the end of it. And I'm going to show it. I'm actually going to we're going to find a project. We're going to work it from start to finish. I'm going to stick that $2,500 number, a $1,500 purchase price, and at the end of it, we're going to show you guys how we got there. Spreadsheets, full disclosure, complete transparency on all the receipts. You're gonna see how we got there. And how I do it. Typically, if I go and buy myself a car, how do I get a car on the road? My last one was a $500 car. So, how am I driving a car for $500, right? And how are we maintaining those cars? What are the expectations around reliability in those cars? Well, the reality of it is you're going to have more problems because they're older cars. They have more mileage. They require more maintenance. And you get to do it all, right? You don't want to take that $2,500 car to a garage. You know it has problems. That's why you bought it. so if we can fix those problems and you can keep them manageable, then you can get away with this pretty cheap. I drive a car on average without payments now for about $500 a season. I basically dump $500 into my car every year. I just do what it needs. The old Saturn out in the driveway with 174,000 kilometers on it. Has working air conditioning. The suspension doesn't rattle. All the power windows work, right? So at $500 a year for maintenance in my second year, I've got a total of no more than $1,500 to $2,000 into that car with the original purchase price, and I'm in my second year of driving. So when you look at that, that's much better than what a lot of people are doing with the car payments of $300, $400, $500 a month. The money you guys are spending on these car payments is ridiculous. And really, at the end of the day, that's a lot of money. That's your retirement. That's your kids' college funds. That's all that type of stuff. So it's not just about the cars. I love cars, but it's not just about the cars. It's about you guys saving some money doing it. And if at the end of the day you have a car that you just want to do some maintenance on, and you'd like to watch these videos, by all means. I mean, you might learn a couple things. You might see me make my mistakes, and that's a wonderful thing because now you don't have to make them. We're determined to keep this a short video, so we just want to talk about cheap cars that I found, cheap cars that I would buy, cheap cars you may not buy. We'll see what happens. Just went on Facebook Marketplace. Just went in and took a look at what we could find locally, okay? We might have a good laugh over this, but I found an '84 Dodge Omni with 30,000 original kilometers on it, okay? No rust. I don't know where they put this car, but there's no rust. It's going to have the problems of an old '84 Dodge Omni that, hasn't been around in a while. It runs just fine, they say in the ad. But the wonderful thing about the Dodge Omni for $1,500 is that you could buy every part on that car for $1,500 new. I'm not exaggerating. You could probably buy the entire control arm assembly. You can buy the spark plug wires for pennies. You can buy the spark plugs for $1 or $2 a piece. Those old Dodge Omnis were super, super cheap. Basically, they look like an old Volkswagen Rabbit. Is it cool? Is it going to be is it fast? No. Is it cool? No. But it's basic transportation, and I think it's becoming cool. An '84 Dodge Omni in mint condition. Kind of a neat car. I would probably drive it. I would drive it just for the novelty of it. So I think that's a neat car. The other one I found is a '94 Saturn with very low mileage on it. '94 relatively low mileage. Within the 150,000 kilometer range. A 1994 is a very low mileage car. I won't say very low, but low enough anyways, so that it'll be in good condition. The wonderful thing about the '94 Saturn Ion, it's not cool, but it's going to have air conditioning. And it's going to have polymer side panels. So, if it's going to look good on top. So the big question with the '94 Saturn is what does it look like underneath? So if you go and take a look at it, it's an $800 car. They say it's running, it's on the road. Go take a look. Make sure there's no holes in the floorboards. Take it for a spin. If it drives well, that's just an undesirable car. But there's nothing wrong with it. They're good cars. They're not particularly bad cars in terms of reliability. Mechanically, they're not expensive to repair. And they actually scoot along pretty good. They're not a, yeah, it's not a, like, it's not gonna push you back in your seat. Don't put any $100 bills on the dashboard and dare anybody to, like, grab it. It's never gonna be that fast. Okay, but it's a good little basic transportation car. The other one I found is a 1999 Tercel, and the secret to all buying cheap old cars is buy Japanese. If you buy a 99 Tercel and there's any kind of body on it and it's really clean, it runs well, take it to your mechanic. I bet you they're not going to find you're not going to get a lot of options. It's not going to have air conditioning, cruise control, power door locks, power mirrors. It's not going to be a loaded car, but it's going to be a really good car. You're going to be able to drive that. You're going to be able to fix it easily. The parts are reasonable for that car. You can find parts at the wrecker for it. So you have that as an option for your $2,500 build that you might want to do in your driveway. The other one I found is a 2002 Camry, and it's $29.99. So I figure it's negotiable. But there's not a lot of problems with it. It's a lower mileage car. It's 2002. It's the, I guess, it's not the oldest generation body style. It's not the newest generation body style, and it's not cool. Again, not cool cars are cheap, guys. But a Camry, pretty much any Camry you buy, okay, is a good car. Even the miserable one. I have the miserable one. We've got the one that they don't buy. They come back and they say, don't buy that Camry. It's a terrible Camry. It's been a great car. We've had no issues with it. So almost $200K. You'll buy a 2007 Camry, okay, guys? Out of all the Camrys, don't buy a 2007. Or if you do, buy it real cheap. Or make sure that the engine repair was done, okay? There are some exceptions with every model. Toyota RAV4 has had its issues. If you're going to buy a Toyota, don't try to buy a $1,500 RAV4. That's going to hurt you. We're talking about cars here. We're talking about Tercels, Corollas, Camrys. That's what you want to be buying if you're buying a Japanese Toyota. If you're buying a Toyota. At that price point. Another 2007 Saturn. Again, a lot of people don't know what Saturns are anymore. Ask your kids, if you're my age, you're in your 30s and 40s. In my case, 40s. Ask your kids what a Saturn is, and most of them go, a what? My daughter drives a Saturn Astra. And for some people who know Saturns, an Astra is going to be a what? A 2001 Corolla with high mileage for $1,000. The thing that doesn't scare me necessarily if maintenance is done with a high mileage car, and they documented maintenance especially, is that a car approaching 150,000 kilometers needs stuff. And if it hasn't been done, then you're doing it. A car that's at 250,000 kilometers, it's been done, because otherwise it wouldn't be running. So in a lot of cases, the cars you're going to be looking to buy in that price point now, I'm not so scared of a car with 250K, especially a Japanese one. I totally intend to drive my 2009 Camry in the driveway to 450, 500,000 kilometers. I don't think it's going to have any issues doing that. And most Tercels and stuff. So if you buy one, it's got 250K, but it's got documented mileage, and it's got documented timing belts been done, brakes have been done. Generally looks good, but the mileage is scaring people away. I really think it's a misnomer that people get scared away, because those maintenance has been done. Otherwise it wouldn't be here. Make sure the maintenance has been done. Spend $100 and take it to your mechanic. When you're done with it, you're just going back to the mechanic to be inspected again anyways. Have them take a look at it again. Double check your work. Tell them what you did. Hey, this is my first project in the car. Take a peek at the work I've done. 2005 Malibu, $400. It runs and drives. Again, I found that on Facebook Marketplace, and that's a 160K. That's a just run and buy it now. Okay, like just run and buy it. Like, is it a great car? It's comfortable. It's comfortable. It's more comfortable than some of the other ones I've mentioned. It's mid-size. I know there's a lot of GM fans out there. Probably not 2005 Malibu GM fans, but there's GM fans out there. It's a good car. I think ultimately you definitely get some mileage out of it before you started to have problems. All the parts for that are cheap, so I don't think you're gonna run into any particular problems with some of my selections that we've displayed to you here today. Those are all cars that at the end of the day you're not going to have an issue with. That's it. Really, in a nutshell, guys, don't fall in love. Go find something. Maybe mom and dad, maybe grandma's got something in the driveway. She's not driving anymore. Maybe they're going to give you that car, right? And if grandma gives you a car, well, you're already ahead. I would go ahead, take my $1,000, spend it on grandma's car, make grandma's car awesome. It doesn't matter what grandma's car is. You know, the idea here again is no payments, very low cost, low investment. Get it running, drive it, and then, you know, if you can spend $500 a year to maintain it, fine. If it breaks in Canada in the winter, it's going to cost money. So you want to make sure that it's well maintained, that you've done everything to get it ready for winter. If you're in the southern states, it may not be as big of a deal because, well, in Canada, if you're out in the country and your car stops and it's -30 outside, you're probably 2-3 hours away from a tow truck, and if you don't have blankets, you might die. You know, but you know, in the southern states, not really a big deal, right? Like, I mean, you just park a car on the side of the road and you hoof it home, and you're going to be fine. So it's really about, for us in Canada, maintaining the cars, making sure that they're right and that they're going to be a solid, reliable car. And you guys are going to argue with me about what a solid, reliable car is because we have a lot more rust. So I think it's going to be an interesting project, whatever we find. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about what we found. And I'm just going to go on Facebook Marketplace. We're going to buy something. We're going to fix it. Ultimately, I'm going to fix it to sell because I need content for you guys, right? So that means that I have to do more than what you guys might have to do. Sometimes buying a used car means you live with stuff. The air conditioning doesn't work. It's going to cost $1,000. It's outside of $2,500 budget, right? So we don't do the air conditioning. We live with a hot car. Some of you in the southern states would argue that that's ridiculous and that you would never do it. In fact, you know, but again, it's about where you live. In Canada, not a big deal. We use air conditioning really 3-4 months out of the year, maybe more this year, but for the most part, it's not really an issue to not have a car with air conditioning in Canada. So, but again, those are the types of issues. Used cars, you live with problems, but your sweat equity pays off. You put the money in your pocket. You know, you take more trips. You rent nicer cars when you go on your trips because you're not paying for what's in your driveway. And I think that's ultimately what we're trying to show you guys, and we want to show you guys that it can be done. It still can be done in your driveway. There's a lot of people who think that there's a lot of specialized tools and fancy stuff that you need to work on a car. You need tools. We'll touch on tools. I think we'll have an episode where we will touch on tools. And we'll talk about the basics that you would need, you know, things like a ratchet set, a hammer, and so on. I'm getting off topic. But long story short, we will get to what you should have in your basic arsenal of tools. And I think if a car is bought right for your first project, you might get a fair amount of tools in there as well. You might be really surprised as to what you can buy in terms of tools and your project. But that's it. Like, share, subscribe, and thanks for watching.